Good morning and welcome to another episode of Tea with Z. It's a pleasure to be with you again on another episode, and sticking back, I guess, to closer to that 8 o'clock time. Sorry, I was running a little bit late yesterday. To be honest, we were about to kick off, and then a plumber rolled on up to the house to do some work. So I had to go and handle that. Now, if you actually watch yesterday's episode, or if you haven't seen it already, definitely go and check it out on one of the channels. But see if you can tell the time in which I actually change a little bit, because he actually had to end up coming back. So he finished, I started T with Z, and then about sometime during that episode yesterday, I came back. So see if you can actually pick up where I became a little bit distracted, or I know I felt it, but I'm just wondering if you felt it as well. So who knows, you may have heard him come on in as well. But thanks so much for still sticking with me yesterday, even though it was a little bit later. But good morning once again. If you haven't got your cuppa yet, or whatever you're having, go and grab that now. And jump on and say hi. And like always, if you aren't watching live and watching the replay, be sure to pop a comment in the comment section below. I will definitely get back to you, because this is all about being interactive and engaging. And what better way to do it as well via the comment section, either live or during the replay. So jump on over. It'll be great to have a chat today. Boiling over. Now, tensions are pretty high. There's a lot of fear in our community. Anxiety is very widespread. Uncertainty is rife. And what we're seeing as a result of that is increasing levels of conflict. Increasing levels of conflict in our workplace, but also just even in our community as well. And the reason why I wanted to touch on this today is a couple of things. One, to, I guess, tell a personal story, but two, just to touch on, I guess, some things that I'm reading about in our local community from the media, but also from other people that are working on the ground in frontline health roles and the experiences that they are going through at the moment. So before I tell my story, I'll just touch on what I just read this morning. And what I read this morning was uh, somebody filming an interaction in a pharmacy in New South Wales, and that interaction was extremely sour. It was extremely negative, and that interaction that was getting portrayed by that patient to, or that customer to, the staff member. And if you haven't read it yet, this is an article based on a chemist warehouse in Sydney, where a patient was literally abusing and filmed to be abusing a checkout representative or a pharmacy assistant, because they had to queue and wait in line to receive their medication. Now, one thing that I really want to, I guess, differentiate, and something from my own personal experiences being a healthcare professional, is managing that there are potentially different elements at play, and things that mainstream media don't necessarily pick up. The fact that she was maybe in pain, she's waving around a box of Panadol and obviously displaying levels of aggression, that comes off as a negative, and the media and us pick up on that. But in the healthcare world, and being on the other side of that counter, being able to effectively diffuse that situation, but recognize that there might be other things at play, particularly in a healthcare environment, is really important for us to be able to manage that conflict appropriately, efficiently, and effectively as well. I know personally, I've been on the receiving end of many similar instances. But when you take a step back and actually take a moment out of that situation and realize that there might be other things at play, like for this person here, and look, I'm not excusing that behavior at all. In my opinion, that behavior is still not acceptable. But if you're taking a step back and actually looking at that behavior and what other health conditions or medical conditions might be at play or contributing to that, I guess, behavior, It allows us to take a different perspective. It allows us to take a different perspective to actually empathize and understand what they might be going through or the challenges that they might be perceiving. Now, when I read this article this morning, I picked up that it was Panadol that was highlighted. Panadol, as most of us know, is pain relief medication. And what do we do when we are in pain? We display signs of aggression. We display signs of frustrations. We display signs of anxiety, of tension, because we are in pain. And yes, at that moment and point in time, those decisions and those behaviors that she projected to that pharmacy assistant were not appropriate. And like I said, I'm not discounting or discrediting that behavior at all, but it's really important that we as a community don't just instantly judge people based on an instant in their lives, an instant that has been filmed on a TikTok reel, 30 seconds, and already we're judging somebody. But in that moment, that person could have been under enormous pressures, enormous pains, and they were outwardly projecting that. And I know for myself, if I've received, I guess, a lot of hostility in my workplace, taking that step back, but not even necessarily during that moment, but also debriefing after it, really has helped me. And good morning, Tash. Has really helped me to really understand what they might be going through, why they are projecting these emotions to us. And think about it in your own personal lives. Think about it when things are boiling over in your own personal lives. Who are you projecting your frustrations to? If you're frustrated, where are those like say even in your workplace, on your own health journey, from your team, you've had a rough day at work, where are you projecting those emotions? And how are you managing them effectively and efficiently? Do you come home and all of a sudden you're angry at the world? Had a terrible day in the office, and now you're projecting it at home to your loved ones, to your family, to your friends. At work, are you projecting those emotions to your own colleagues, to your team? You, as a manager or a leader in your organization, are you projecting that down to your talent, your employees, if there are frustrations and stresses in your life? And then what are the consequences of that? What are the consequences of that, not only to them and their own mental health and well-being and their feelings of safety and security, but what fears are you starting to bring up? What fears are you starting to bring up within that environment that then, I guess, creates and perpetuates an even more negative and hostile environment? By creating those fears, are you then building barriers and walls that remove trust and empathy and understanding in your workplace, in your personal life, in whatever environment that you're in? Or are you taking a step back and really, I guess, debriefing? And we've covered off debriefing, and I will later on, in as the T with Z's episodes go on, we'll keep covering off the debrief process. But are you actually reflecting why you may have behaved in a certain way, why somebody else behaved in a certain way, and empowering yourself with those tools and resources to really reflect on that and actually go, well, maybe they were just in immense pain. Maybe there is a situation that I'm not aware of, but now I'm actually become the sounding board for that. And it's really important that we take that time to do that, because if we internalize and take everything personally from all of the tensions that are going on in our lives, if that pharmacy assistant starts to internalize what has happened to her, then that is going to compound negativity, going to compound stress, going to compound anxiety, going to compound fear. And what are the then net effect results of that? We're more stressed. We're not sleeping right. We're not eating well. Our nutrition goes out the door. Our health starts to suffer, and our own health starts to suffer. And those are the unfortunate effects of stress. And if we're not managing our stress levels appropriately, then those are the unfortunate effects. And long term, the effects on that, not only to ourselves, but to those around us, can be extremely significant. And good morning, Jan. Thank you for jumping on. That is so true. Life is too short. Happiness is the best medicine. And that's a great segue into, I guess, my personal story, Jan. So, from on the weekend, on Sunday morning, Natasha had booked a lovely place for brunch down at Palm Beach. And we then decided to take a walk after. And my lovely cousin, so shout out to Karishma, had baked a lovely cheesecake. And we didn't finish it all. So we asked the cafe to put it in the fridge. And we came back to pick it up. And if anybody ever knows around areas of Palm Beach, it's extremely packed. And I parked in a loading zone waiting for Natasha to pick up the cake from the cafe nearby. And I parked appropriately, safely, tucked away in the corner in a loading zone, out of the way. And here comes somebody with their surfboard and turns around and smashes it into my car. No apology, no nothing. I'm sitting there in the car with my daughter, and sitting in the car and hear this massive thud. And I look around and there he is smiling at me after smacking the surfboard into my car. And I get out and I'm like, "Oh, have you dented my car?" And he's like, "No, it's a softboard. It should be okay. But to be honest, you shouldn't be parking there. And it's not my fault that you've parked in the wrong spot." And obviously tension started to flare. Because at the end of the day, I was parked appropriately in a loading zone, waiting for my wife, who was literally walking towards us at the time with the cake from the cafe. And all of a sudden, it became my fault. It became my fault that he had banged into our car with his surfboard. He didn't take ownership of it, didn't apologize. And at the end of the day, he was then perpetuating an escalation of a situation that really didn't need to escalate. Really didn't need to escalate. And that comes to and then obviously tension started to flare. He then started to become aggressive because at the end of the day, I may have been projecting some intrinsic level of hostility, knowing that he potentially could have damaged my car and wasn't taking ownership for it. But at the end of the day, what I did was I stood back. I looked at the situation and go, is this worth it? Is this worth my time and energy? And Jan, I'm going to bring up your comment once again. Anger is such a time waster. Life is too short. I literally just shook my head, got back in the car, took a few deep breaths, and we drove away. He was stepping up. He wanted to get into a confrontation, and whatever was happening in his life at that point in time, maybe I was the outward projection of pent up anger, pent up tension. And it was some sort of release and ability for him to actually project it onto others. Now, for us as health entrepreneurs, if we respond in kind to that, if we respond with understanding and empathy, or if we respond in hostility and anger, there are two very different outcomes into that. And so this is what I really wanted to touch base with you this morning is we as health entrepreneurs have a choice in which we can react. We as health entrepreneurs also have the power to an ability to diffuse situations through empathy, through understanding, and actually looking at things a little bit more holistically, looking at things that actually might be contributing to situations that we're at the tipping point of, that everything has boiled over. And unfortunately, we've been at the receiving end of that. So it's really important to then, I guess, when we are undergoing these periods of stress, is to utilize things like meditation, exercise, good nutrition, protecting sleep. Protecting sleep is critical, but also openly talking about it, discussing about it. And already, just even on this forum right now, I feel lighter. And at the end of the day, I went home, held, yes, there were times where resentment started to creep up. And I'm like, how did that situation end up like that? But if I always remember, and if I always take that step back and understand and appreciate what may have happened if I didn't walk away, and hold my values true, because for me, family is the most important value for me. And as a result of that, what situation could have I been in that compromised that value? And for what? At the end of the day, for what? So for me, my best coping strategies and the strategies that I could really recommend 100% is meditation. 100% meditation. The debrief process. The debrief process. If you haven't seen that debrief process and you want to check it out, there are a couple of episodes on Tea with Z like that, so go and check it out. Exercise, nutrition, protecting sleep, and discussing it. And that's discussing is part of the debrief process. So those are my top 5 things that we would do. So boiling over, tensions are high. It's important that you're recognizing when the tensions are high and managing those stresses. It's also really important that as health entrepreneurs, we understand and look at the bigger picture as to why those might be happening. Look at how we can effectively and efficiently diffuse the situation, but also ensure that we're protecting ourselves, our team, and our friends, our family along our own health entrepreneurial journey. And most importantly, we're protecting ourselves. We're making sure that we are managing the stresses in our lives in order to ensure that we can perform to the best of our ability. And by doing that, it's really important that we don't internalize these interactions. We don't internalize it because at the end of the day, that's just going to compound and manifest into things that we do not want in our own lives. And as health entrepreneurs, we have the power to really, really shape what that looks like. So, big shout out once again to the Limitless Network. And I've spoken a little bit about talking about it, debriefing, chatting, sharing these experiences, whatever that may be. If you value health in any way, shape, or form, don't have to be a business owner. Don't have to be a business owner. But if you are part of this group already, fantastic. If you're not, feel free to join and bring 3 people with you. 3 people that you know that if you yourself are benefiting from these Tea with Z's, and I've received so many private messages. Thank you so much to all those people that I enjoy having a cuppa with in the morning. Invite 3 people on the journey with you. Because at the end of the day, as a community, we can only do our best to support each and every other. And this is what this community is all about. So that's it from me today. Yeah, big topic today. And I really wanted to touch base on it. And like I've shared my own personal story. What's your personal story? And feel free to comment in the comment section below. Get it off your chest. And especially if you want it to be even in a more safe space, then join the Limitless Network and feel free to share away in that, because that is a safe space. So that's it from me today. Have an amazing day. I look forward to seeing you on another episode of Tea with Z tomorrow. Stay safe, stay well, and really look after yourself and look after those around you. So before I go, Tash has just quickly popped up. Great information and reminder to try to understand someone else's position, which might drive their behavior, but also recognize our own rising tensions and a way to calm ourselves to avoid reacting. 100%. And the easiest way, actually, the 6th way that I didn't mention is breath. Breath. As we start to raise our cortisol levels in our body, we start to constrict. Our diaphragm starts to constrict, and we actually heighten our breath. You would notice that you're taking more rapid, shorter, shallower breaths. And what that's doing is that's stimulating, and trying to the body's trying to rapidly oxygenate the body. But as a result of that, we're actually stimulating cortisol as well. And that is a stress hormone. But by standing up, opening up the diaphragm, opening up the chest, and taking deep breaths using a box breath method. So in for 4, hold for 4, out for 4, hold for 4, in for 4, hold for 4, out for 4, hold for 4. And we're cycling that through, even just doing a few cycles and then responding. You will find that you respond so much better and so much more differently than what you would have when immediately reacting to a situation. So that's it from me today. Like once again, looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. And if you want to learn more about the box press method, definitely just comment in the comment section below as well. It's an awesome technique. So chat to you soon. Have a great day. Bye for now.